Hi, I'm Scott Langdon, and this week on God and Autobiography, the podcast, I'm thrilled to be able to bring you another episode of From God to Jerry to You. When I first interviewed with Jerry and Abigail for this job in February of 2020, I thought I would simply be helping a retired philosophy professor do promotional work for his book, God and Autobiography as Told to a Philosopher. But when we first met, Jerry told me that God asked him to tell God's story. Hasn't God's story already been told? I asked. I had the same question as Jerry. That's when I learned about this new axial age we've all been entering into. This week, join Jerry as he takes a deeper dive into what God revealed to him about what God's story, and hence all of our stories, have been leading up to. I hope you enjoy the episode.
I've always felt that the revelations to me came at a unique time in history, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's going to involve the concept of an axial age. You and I are surrounded, in fact, by world historical change. And yet, you don't notice it. Life goes on from one day to the next. Did people at the time realize they were in the Renaissance? Or say later, we are in the Enlightenment? Often with large-scale transitions, something is gained, but much is lost. An emerging order can feel like chaos. This was true in the great axial age, to use Karl Jasper's term. Long before the birth of Christ, prophetic voices from Socrates to Confucius, from the Hebrew prophets to the Hindu visionaries, all within a few hundred years of each other, raised human consciousness to a new level, in ways threatening to the old orders. This was the period in which the world's religions were founded. Sometimes they're now called the Axial Age religions. I learned all these things after God first spoke to me and told me, I want you to tell my story. At the time, I objected. Hasn't your story already been told? It is time for it to be told again, and not in the same way. God explained, we are entering an unusual time in the history of the world. The old religions are coming apart. Yet there is renewal of religious spirit. Many of the great religions rested on a relatively clear reception of messages from me. The new spirituality does not. It is aimless, made up, impressionistic, psychologized, sometimes flaky, and even dangerous and demonic. Well, that sounds bad. But God continued. But there is gain here as well. The old revelations were limited. They fit the understanding of people at the time. Later, God explained that each religion captures a different aspect of the divine reality. God told me, each enables me to show a different side of myself. God led me through the ancient scriptures of each religion and what truth was being expressed in each case. Today, we all grow up in being aware of multiple religions. We're no longer sheltered within the religion dominant in our culture. Others may be present in our school or workplace. We see them on the internet. It was not until the end of God and Autobiography that these divine communications were put in this larger, up-to-the-minute context. You are now at a different time in history. You stand on the threshold of a new spiritual era, a new axial age. For the first time, spiritually attuned individuals will draw their understanding of spiritual reality not just from the scriptures of their own religious tradition, but from the plenitude of my communications to men and women. I knew that as people became aware of the richness of the world's religions, they kind of wanted them all to say the same thing, somehow expressible in a heartwarming blend. But God rejected that idea. The upshot will not be a bland acceptance of all so-called scriptures and theological traditions, as if they all said the same thing. As you can see, they do not. Nevertheless, God did say, it's time for them to come together, not merely putting the pieces together, but in a dynamic way, a way that lends itself to forward development. Well, what do you mean, Lord? As people take in elements from other traditions, they will make something of that. It won't just be a passive reception. It will be a creative, very dynamic process. For example, as a Christian takes in the truth of the Atman, truth in scare quotes, because the Hindu truth of the Atman is not the final truth. It leaves the Christian perspective out, for example. Understanding of the Atman will be shaped and expanded and connected to other elements not present or not so fully present in the Hindu tradition. As the Hindus or Chinese fully take in the personal God of the Old Testament, as they take in the reality of Jesus, they will be transformed. And then I ask, resulting in a single world religion? There is no way human beings will all subscribe to a single religion, but they will no longer be hermetically sealed, looking at one another over tall, thick walls, sending bullets, or when you're lucky, flowers back and forth. It will be a creative ferment in which religions feel free to borrow from each other, and individuals will feel free to borrow from all religions and create their own creeds and rituals. Well, at this point, I pictured a big swap meet where everyone brings the truths of their religion, and then they kind of trade ideas back and forth until everybody has done all the trades they care to do, and that would all be over. So I asked, once religions and individuals take in truths and revelations from each other, will that be the end of the process? God responded, of course it won't be the end. There will be new developments, new communications from my side, and new developments and events and consciousness from the world's side. The cutting edge of spiritual development will continue. Well, and there you have it, the occasion, the world historical occasion in the new axial age, into which God and autobiography fits. It is a set of revelations, not unique in human history, but unique at this point in time, speaking to the changes in the new axial age. Thank you for visiting with me.
Thank you for listening to God and Autobiography, the podcast. Subscribe for free today wherever you listen to your podcasts and hear a new episode every week. You can hear the complete dramatic adaptation of God and Autobiography as Told to a Philosopher by Jerry L. Martin by beginning with episode 1 of our podcast and listening through its conclusion with episode 44. You can read the original true story in the book from which this podcast is adapted, God and Autobiography as Told to a Philosopher, available now at Amazon.com and always at godandautobiography.com. Pick up your own copy today. If you have any questions about this or any other episode, please email us at questions@godandautobiography.com and experience the world from God's perspective, as it was told to a philosopher. This is Scott Langdon. I'll see you next time.